When I said Whoopi Goldberg was the help, let me tell you what I meant by that. To my little sisters saying, you just gotta do it, let me school you. If they're not paying you, baby, that's called slavery. When you called me with the morning show on the phone, I said to you, Steve, my family is suffering behind this. And y'all know I did nothing wrong.
It looks like Monique has been finally vindicated almost 15 years since she publicly called out Oprah Winfrey for blackballing her butt. We can't forget that Monique didn't just expose Oprah, she also called out all the industry fakes who sided with Oprah and threw her under the bus, including Whoopi Goldberg and Steve Harvey, after Taji P. Henson recently revealed she almost walked away from the new Oprah-produced adaptation of The Color Purple. Overlope fans took to social media to say Monique deserves an apology because back in 2009, Monique said the same thing Taraji is now saying, and yet she was labeled as bitter and angry, and even Monique's industry peers publicly claimed her for daring to say no to Oprah. Among her loudest critics were Whoopi Goldberg and Steve Harvey, who contributed to this malicious narrative about Monique being difficult, but Monique refused to be silenced, and she exposed Whoopi and Steve for being Oprah's lapdogs who only care about their own selfish interests while publicly preaching about their love for the community. So what exactly did Monique say about Whoopi and Steve? And is this whole situation with Taraji proof that Monique was right all along? Let's get into it.
None of y'all in real time, was strong enough to go publicly and say, we can't throw our sister under the bus.
In case you missed it, Oprah Winfrey is facing fierce backlash after Taraji P. Henson revealed she almost walked away from The Color Purple because they tried to lowball her. The new Color Purple movie is co-produced by Oprah, Steven Spielberg, Scott Sanders, and Quincy Jones, and while Oprah is not the one writing the checks to actors, considering the influence she has, you would think she would try and use that influence to help Taraji negotiate a higher salary. But see, that's not even the biggest issue. And maybe this wouldn't have blown up so much if this was the first time Oprah received this kind of criticism. However, almost 15 years before Taraji spoke out, Monique publicly exposed Oprah for trying to lowball her, and she even claimed Oprah and Tyler Perry got her blisted in the industry. The whole thing started after the release of the 2009 movie Precious, produced by Oprah and Tyler Perry and directed by Lee Daniels. Monique received widespread acclaim for her incredible performance and won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. And since Monique's performance created so much buzz, Oprah and Tyler asked her to go on a press tour over SE to promote the film. But here's the kicker, they didn't want to pay her for this, so Monique declined, explaining she'd rather spend time with her husband and kids after putting in so much effort into Precious. And according to Monique, as soon as she said no to Oprah and Tyler Perry, headlines started popping up painting her as difficult and impossible to work with. Right after Precious hit screens, Monique watched as several roles that came her way suddenly vanished into thin air, and Hollywood seemed to have slammed its doors shut on her. Monique later told The Hollywood Reporter that Lee Daniels admitted she was being blackballed, and when she asked him, "Why have I been blackballed?" Daniels responded, "Because you didn't play the game." However, when Monique asked Daniels to explain what game he was talking about, he didn't know what to say, but we can all guess what the game is. They were basically sending a message that all Black entertainers need to worship the ground Oprah walks on and never say anything negative about her, or else. But Monique didn't let them silence her, and she also went on to expose Whoopi Goldberg and Steve Harvey, seemingly suggesting they're Oprah's lapdogs, when Monique appeared on The View and explained that she had done all the contractual obligations for Precious before Oprah and Tyler asked her to do additional work for free. Whoopi was very condescending and insisted that Monique should have gone on that tour overseas because it's part of her job. Monique then explained if going on an overseas press tour for free was really part of her job, then the studio would have sued her for breach of contract, but that didn't happen, so clearly Monique knew what her job was, and she did what she was paid for. But then Whoopi went a step further and told Monique she could have schooled her on how to do her job.
And I said, if you had called me, I could have schooled you on what was expected.
And when we did have that conversation, and what I said to you, my sweet sister, I said, Whoopi, at what point do we stop saying the next time? Because what was expected, but I want to answer it though.
Yeah.
This word school didn't sit right with Monique, and she later referred to Whoopi as the help in an interview with Vulture. The very thing I went to The View to speak about was the very thing I experienced on The View, Monique said. Whoopi Goldberg has always been the help, and I say that humbly. This is a woman who says I could have schooled you. And this is a woman who accepted Ted Dinkon and blackface, and our community praises this woman, so oftentimes we do it to ourselves. But I just can't understand. And I love my sister, however, when you know you're being fed the wrong food, you must say I can't chew this all. But once again, the media and Monique's peers criticized her and tried to force her to apologize to Whoopi. However, Monique stood her ground, and she later explained the reason she referred to Whoopi as the help was because Whoopi tried to shame her on national TV for simply asking to be compensated for her job.
I have a woman that says to me on national TV, I could have schooled you. Well, you wanted to school me on how I was supposed to work for free. I simply don't want that type of education. That's the education you're fine with. That's not the education I want, and that's not the education I want to pass down to my little sisters, saying, you just got to do it. Let me school you. If they're not paying you, baby, that's called slavery.
But it wasn't just Whoopi who tried to gaslight Monique and paint her as ungrateful. There was also Oprah's other good friend, Steve Harvey, who first told Monique in private he agreed with her, but then went on air and slammed for burning bridges. Now Steve's been in the hot seat for allegedly tossing quite a few of his colleagues under the bus. To give you just one example, the late Bernie M. claimed that Steve tried to steal his role in Ocean's 11 and allegedly went behind his back to try and convict. See the studio, they should give the role to him. And then Monique also joined the list of people Steve betrayed, and she publicly called him out for being a coward. Steve then invited Monique to his show to clear things up, and though he tried to put her on the spot and school her the same way Whoopi tried to, Monique didn't let Steve flip the narrative, and she confronted him about being two-faced.
We got labeled as difficult because I said one word, and that was no. Now, I said no to some very powerful people. I said no to Oprah Winfrey. I said no to Tyler Perry. I said no to Lee Daniels. And I said no to Lionsgate. And when I heard you go on the air and you said, my sister done burnt too many bridges, and there's nothing I can do for her now. Steve, do you know how hurt I was? What I would have appreciated from my brother was had you picked up the phone before you went on the air and said, Monique, you've burned too many bridges and there's nothing I can do. See, I would have appreciated had my brother called me up and said, baby, let's talk. Because you doing that was a part of me being difficult.
But not before that, though.
Yes, babe. And what happens is when you allow people to start taking your freedom and your gift and making it become what makes them comfortable, we then lose. When you called me with the morning show on the phone, I said to you, Steve, my family is suffering behind this. And y'all know I did nothing wrong. Y'all know my husband did nothing wrong. But none of y'all in real time, was strong enough to go publicly and say, we can't throw our sister under the bus.
But Steve just couldn't seem to grasp that Monique was talking about sticking to your principles. He made it all about the money game, claiming success meant playing nice with certain folks and watching what you spill about them.